Red rum. Red rum. Doctor Sleep is directed by Mike Flanagan and starring Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, Kyliegh Curran, Cliff Curtis, and Zahn McClarnon. Before I go any further, I just want to say there will not be any plot spoilers in this review. This film is not only an adaptation of the book that is a sequel to the famous Stephen King novel The Shining, it is also the sequel film to the famous film adaptation The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. And this film takes place years and years later after The Shining. Now we are reunited with a grown-up Danny Torrance, portrayed by Ewan McGregor, and he's battling a few demons and he's trying to get his life in order, but of course he still has the shine. Because he has the shine, he's able to connect with other people who also have the shine, and one of these people is Abra Stone. And Abra Stone is being pursued by a cult group called the True Knot, who is headed by someone known as Rose the Hat, portrayed by Rebecca Ferguson, and they're all about hunting down children who have the power of the shine. So it is up to Ewan McGregor to save this girl from these evil people. Mike Flanagan is part of a group of directors now within the horror genre who I feel are putting out some fantastic work. I'm sure many of you are familiar with his filmography. He has done films like Oculus. He did the Netflix series Haunting of Hill House. He did the Ouija sequel. He also did Gerald's Game, which is another Stephen King adaptation. That was on Netflix as well. And he is someone who is a little bit different than some of the other horror film directors that we have today. He is not someone who goes for things like jump scares or goes for typical horror tropes and horror things. He is someone who deals more with the psychological aspect of horror. This idea of just getting inside of one's psyche, being more of a psychological thriller when it comes to these films, and also really trying to get inside of our minds as well as the minds of the character and bringing out those horrors. And that is really apropos for this film. This film is dealing with a lot of psychological horror. If you are familiar with The Shining, I think you will understand kind of the parallels and the correlations between the two. There are a lot of references back to The Shining, so I kind of recommend that you watch The Shining before you see this film. Ewan McGregor plays this character very, very well, and what I really like about this character is we're seeing the effects of all of those things that happened when he was a child, and how they're affecting him as an adult, and how they are lingering. One of the core themes that's going on here is this idea of childhood trauma that stays with you for a long time and really dictates your life. And it's kind of just like a parasite that lives within you and just a haunting that is within you that you need to deal with at some point. Dan not only has to confront the problems within himself, but he also has to help confront the problems that are going on with this young girl in Abra. Kyliegh Curran plays her very, very well. I really enjoyed seeing their chemistry and seeing their bond in this film through their powers and seeing how their powers are both different yet the same. There is a lot of existentialism going on within both of their characters as well. They're both essentially fighting to live and fighting a foe in this film, and the foe is in a cult known as the True Knot, headed by Rebecca Ferguson's character of Rose the Hat. And Rebecca Ferguson in this film is absolutely outstanding. I would dare say she is the best thing about this movie in terms of just the way she portrays the character and just the way she just permeates evil throughout this entire film. And what is also interesting when it comes to not only her character but her group of evil people is that they spend an awful lot of time developing this group and getting us to know who they are and to know kind of somewhat of their backstory, but keeping some of that mystery also hidden as well, but giving us just enough to have us know why they're doing what they're doing. What is their sense of desperation in doing what they're doing? Now, we are not empathizing with them at all. We're not sympathizing with them at all, but at least the film made an effort to give some type of development and flesh out these evil characters, because oftentimes within the horror genre, within just film in general, the antagonists in the films are not really fleshed out that well, and it's more of a hero or protagonist-centric story, and those are the ones who typically get all of the development. So it was nice to see that there was a decent balance in this film. When it comes to the directorial aspects of this film, Mike Flanagan from just an aesthetic and cinematic standpoint and cinematographical standpoint, I thought was really fantastic. His visual style was very smooth, very atmospheric. The audio editing and just the audio mix and things like that were really noticeable. It really created this supernatural, creepy atmosphere throughout the entirety of this film that really kept you on edge as a viewer and gave you that sense of suspense. Also, I think from an aesthetic standpoint, he did some things that I really, really liked when it came to scene transitions, when it came to just supernatural things that were happening and special effects in the film as well. I thought were really, really good. When it comes to the overall negatives I have with the film, a lot of that have to do with the third act. And I thought it was rather anticlimactic. It kind of bothered me because there was so much great build up to this climax, and it was over very, very suddenly and almost too soon. I don't know specifically why that happened. Perhaps it is in fact the exact ending that is in the book. I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I can't really give any insight into that, but it just felt very anticlimactic to me, despite a lot of the things I liked within it. The setting I really liked, but the execution of the ending and just what actually happened left me a little underwhelmed. But with all of that being said, I'm going to give this film a 3.9 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it a lot. Ewan McGregor's great, Rebecca Ferguson's great, the young character portrayed by Kyliegh Curran is fantastic as well. I really like the atmosphere, I like the story, I like the themes in it. That third act's a little underwhelming to me, and the film is 2.5 hours long about, but you don't really feel it. It moves very, very quickly, and I thought it picked up a lot of the strings from The Shining to give a sense of a correlation, a sense of connection with it, but it really stood out all on its own. That has been my review of Dr. Sleep. If you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.